welcome to Bad Movie Beatdown. Last time we looked at the excesses of Die Another Day, so I think it's only fair that we look at similarly OTT rival Triple X. Triple X is not a film, it's a marketing pitch. You may recall in the early years of the new millennium that there was an inexplicable and deeply regrettable trend of being extreme, showing we were young, hip and modern, man. You could tell it by the popular culture where wrestling and Jackass were big hits, but more importantly by the movies it inspired during the time. Hollywood always likes to cash in on fans like these, which is why there was an avalanche of particularly idiotic teen-orientated action flicks revolving around extreme sports. These go all the way from the legendarily stupid Torque and the infamous Rollerball remake to things already consigned to obscurity like Extreme Ops. And we can especially blame producer Neil H. Moritz for lots of these, including Triple X. And at the heart of this era of stupid were the Fast and the Furious movies, and that's where Triple X comes in. The Fast and the Furious was a big hit in 2001, and Triple X was the follow-up for director Rob Cohen and star Vin Diesel, both of whom quickly abandoned that movie's rushed follow-up for this film. The simple idea of Triple X is, what if James Bond was extreme? Ignoring the fact that James Bond has done every extreme sport already. But the reason that I mention it's a marketing pitch is because it seemed to have more prominence than the actual film itself. Marketing began in 2001 with a giant logo billboard in Los Angeles, even though there wasn't even a script for the film yet, and they spent nearly as much selling the flick as they did making it. It was clearly intended to be a new franchise, but that dream was quickly dashed when Diesel smartly jumped ship after just one movie. So what did they do in their infinite wisdom? They hired Ice Cube, the world's least credible action hero, and director Lee Tamahori of Die Another Day fame, who may have left Bond in critical condition, but certainly killed the Triple X franchise, although there have been rumours of a third. But with the 2005 release of Triple X 2, it was clear that the extreme fad was thankfully over. I'll get more into director Rob Cohen in the next episode, but for now, let's take a look at how the theatrical cut of Triple X holds up about 10 years later. The film starts in incredibly immature fashion with a secret agent, played by Thomas Ian Griffith, managing to get a diss from some random goon, notably stripping off to reveal a perfect dinner jacket underneath. I wonder who this is supposed to be. Let's, for argument's sake, call him Jimmy Bond. Fleeing from some henchmen, he uses a whizzy gizmo to get into a locked door. On the other side, there's a giant Rammstein concert going on. Oh man, Jimmy Bond is so out of touch. You don't wear a dinner jacket to a rock concert. I swear, this shit just happens all the time. Coincidentally, this concert is being held by a villain Yorgi, played by Marton Chokash, and yes, he's Russian. You think Jimmy would use his expert training to lose his pursuers in the crowd, but it seems he's a bit of an idiot because what he does is leap onto the stage, making him an easy target to get shot, and the idiots in attendance think he's crowd surfing. Yes, absolutely no one, not even lead singer Till Lindemann, managed to notice a man being executed right in front of their very eyes, complete with a bloody chest wound. This is going to be a very stupid movie, isn't it? Back at the NSA's remote facility in Virginia, America, we meet Agent Augustus Gibbons, played by a scarred Samuel L. Jackson, in what is obviously a proto-Nick Fury. Never mind the NSA doesn't do things like this, they've been losing agents left, right and centre, but Augustus has an idea.
These guys aren't ours? Who are they? CIA?
No, civilians. Convicts, mercs,
contract killers, the best and brightest at the bottom of the barrel.
They're the scum of the earth.
And they're programmable, expendable, and they work. I think it's our best shot.
So what we need are some completely inexperienced dipshits that we can easily manipulate and get killed as well. Quick, fetch me my teenage son right away! Cutting to a country club in California, we see a corrupt asshole senator pull up in a flashy red Corvette with a bit of crumpet. But he doesn't hand the keys to a valet, he hands them to Xander Cage, or X for short. It's the X's that make him so extreme, played by Vin Diesel, who quickly rides off with the car, making a quick pit stop to rig cameras onto it.
These monkeys are following me because I just took this car. Obviously the car doesn't belong to me, it's not my style. It belongs to Dick Hotchkiss, a California state senator. He's the guy that tried to ban rap music because he feels that the lyrics promote violence. It's music, Dick. He's also the guy that wants to pull every video game off every shelf in the country because he feels that the video games diminish the intelligence of our youth.
Oh, come on. If anything's diminishing our intelligence, it's brain-dead action movies. You know, like this one. Also, you're taking a stand against censorship by stealing his car? Isn't that exactly proving his point in the first place? Not that smart, Xander. After establishing Xander's anti-authority streak on an acceptable target who believes in things no one takes seriously anyway, the senator is in the Xander zone. Ooh. Which, in layman's terms, is basically driving the senator's car off a bridge and then parachuting off it as it crashes below, which is a genuinely decent stunt. But then it's ruined by this.
Moral is, don't be a dick, Dick!
Oh, that's clever, because his name is Dick, and he is a dick. Ah, that's such witty writing. No, it took half a brain cell to create. X, as I shall now refer to him, is picked up by some extreme sports cameos, most notably Tony Hawk, who also pick up the smoking cameras from out of the wreckage. Guys, the car fell on top of them and exploded. I don't think they're going to be usable in the slightest. And why'd you rig them to it anyway if you're going to drop it off a bridge? Back at X's apartment, they throw a huge party celebrating the stunt, filled with yet more cameos meant to give the character credibility in the extreme sports world. Nope, not buying it. Pander all you like. Oh, and they're selling copies of X's stunt too, because who cares about lying low when there's blatant evidence of your crime?
You know, an athlete like you should really have his own video game. Jordan King. I can make it happen.
I'm gonna hold on to this for later.
You know he's never gonna sell out, right? That's why he is who he is. So you need to relax.
Yeah, man, extreme sports stars don't sell out to anyone. Isn't that right, Tony Hawk star of Boom Boom Sabotage in the long-running Tony Hawk skateboarding series? A strike team bursts into the room and knock out X with a tranquilizer dart. He ends up waking in a diner and barely has time to accept his surroundings before two men apparently try to rob the place, which X disarms. Gibbons has been watching, but X knew this was a test thanks to a combination of contrivance and pulling crap straight out of his ass.
You know, you almost had me going there for a while, and then I started noticing things. Like you got a stockbroker over here, all dressed up, reading the Financial Times on a Sunday morning when the market's closed. Unlikely, but okay. But you wanna know where you blew it? With her. My aunt was in the restaurant business all her life. There's no way in hell a career waitress comes to work in high heels, and no offense, but their performances were terrible.
People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, especially if they're in XXX. Are extreme sports fanatics known for their attention to detail and observation? How the hell does he even know it's a Sunday when even we don't know what day of the week it is? Taking things to the next level, as Augustus puts it, he finds himself on a plane with two other fellows who passed the diner test. They're thrown out of the plane and realise that they're in the cocaine fields of Colombia when some baddies come riding up. X is skeptical, so he stays behind and probably gets himself knocked out. Again. And really? Every Every time X has been knocked out, they start the next scene with a track out from his neck tattoo. They did it before in the diner, and they did it on the plane literally 3 minutes ago. It was cute once, but it shows a serious lack of invention when you use the same trick 3 times in the space of 7 minutes. And look who comes walking in but Danny Trejo, playing the lead drug lord El Jefe. He even brandishes a machete! They all cynically think this is another false scenario and laugh at him because they're tremendous idiots.
Maybe I'll cut off your nose first, huh? Funny guy.
What's funny is, this actually smells like real blood.
Well, no shit, Sherlock! If a guy who looks like Danny Trejo has a blood-splattered blade in your face in the middle of Colombia, I think things might be pretty damn real. X attacks Jefe and frees himself when something in the Colombian army starts firing on the compound, causing El Jefe to run into his car, which promptly gets blown up. Bye, Danny Trejo! You did your typecasting proud. X tries to help his injured comrade, but the other contestant grabs his coke and is never seen again, so I'd like to assume that he died. He leaves the injured whilst he tries to find something to escape with, namely a dirt bike. The army somehow thinks he's the drug lord just because he's riding a bike and chase him, so X can jump around on lots of conveniently placed ramps. Well, that's actually when they can be bothered with those. Where is the ramp? There is nothing but ground there, so how is he getting airtime? Is X so extreme that he can single-handedly defy physics and lift his bike 30 feet off the ground? And he does it again mere seconds later? So let me get this straight. Not only can he jump through the air through sheer force of will, but he can punch a guy in the face and still keep a hold of the bike? Did we all share a joint lobotomy in 2002? After using a car to jump onto the farmhouse roof like a ramp as it explodes, yeah, with the bike you're kind of limited to jumping a lot. He convinces the army helicopter that he's dead as he hides in a drain. He goes back to get his friend some help when some soldiers in camouflage capture him yet again. So the next level from a diner hold-up is nearly getting blown up by the Colombian military? Does the NSA understand the concept of a difficulty curve? Augustus congratulates an understandably pissed off X on his success.
You just graduated at the head of your class.
What the hell are you talking about? You almost got us killed out there.
You know the Colombian army is moving in.
Excuse me?
It was my idea to send you in as a decoy. They liked the idea.
Damn right you should headbutt him, he just caused a major international incident! I sincerely hope this isn't how they train all their field operatives. Long story short, Augustus essentially bullies X into becoming an agent, claiming that if he doesn't, his actions with the senator's car would mean that he'd fall prey to California's 3 strikes law and he'd rot in prison. So there really isn't that much of a choice. So it's off to Prague for our good friend X, where he soon meets his contact, a cop named Milan Sova, and you can tell that these two are gonna get along like a house on fire. Milan takes X to a club which is owned by Yorgi, who is there with his Anarchy 99 crew. X wastes no time and goes up to their private room, outing Milan as a cop as a way of earning their trust.
What's your name?
Xander Cage.
Ah! I knew it. You're awesome.
Thank you, man.
My brother is crazy too. A great admirer of yours. He has seen your tapes many times.
Surely the follow-up question would be, hey, Xander Cage, world-famous extreme sports star. What the hell are you doing in our club in the middle of Prague for no reason? X gives Yorgi a list of cars, and you'd almost be forgiven for thinking at this point you were watching a Fast and Furious sequel. This is where the lightning-fast, action-packed first 30 minutes dissolves into something stupendously dull because the film unfortunately tries to play things seriously and actually tries to do espionage. Yeah, let's just say that story is certainly not this movie's strong suit, although this is a pretty golden moment.
Bitches come.
He just did an inverse Bonica from RoboCop! Oh, crazy sex-mad Russian dude, I salute you! It's also where the film starts to more directly copy the Bond formula, introducing the incredibly stock love interest of Yelena, played by Asia Argento, who is naturally resistant to X's charms at first, and then, well, you get the gist. So if she's this movie's equivalent to a Bond girl, what should we call her? Xander bitch? Well, it's a little bit harsh, but I think it works. And X is so absolutely brilliant that he manages to get comprehensive details on every single one of Yorgi's friends, including their favourite foods, and get all their personal bank account details as well. I don't know what's worse, the fact that they were this piss easy to infiltrate and get intel from, or the fact the NSA somehow lost 3 agents on this bunch of leaky cretins. And continuing the trend of liberally lifting direct elements from the James Bond franchise, we're introduced to a Q clone called Shavers, who provides X with a number of gizmos. Just as shamelessly lifted is a gag involving these eagle-eyed binoculars, where X sees through a woman's clothes down to her lead-lined bra and panties. This is a gag that wouldn't be out of place in an actual James Bond movie. Oh, that's right, because it is. It's lifted directly from The World Is Not Enough. And that's the problem. It's not actually a new take on the material, it's the same cliches and tropes that it's supposedly better than, without even subverting them. And in the process, it only goes to show how modern the Bond formula still is, and what a soulless derivative piece of junk this copy is.
These are tranquilizer and blood splatter darts. All the appearance of a kill shot without the after effects. You know, like death.
You know how James Bond would occasionally have to shoot an ally and in the process show how much of a ruthless agent he was? No, that's not for gritty old Triple X. He can just pretend to shoot them, and then he doesn't have to make any tough decisions. Problem solved. So amazingly, Yorgi has actually managed to find all the cars that are on X's list, including the especially hard to find in Europe Pontiac GTO that he wanted all for himself because Vin's got to have a muscle car. It can't have been that difficult to find if they found it in Germany in roughly a day or so. Sova is spying in on the warehouse through the window and like an idiot, he knocks out all the panels trying to clean it, alerting Yorgi to his presence and nearly compromising X's cover. Nice going, dipshit! X and Yorgi chase after him and X shoots him with the blood splatter dart that we established earlier, winning him entry into Yorgi's Anarchy 99 group. You see, Yorgi lost some of his comrades fighting for causes he didn't believe in, so he and his buddies left the Russian army in 1999. One of these members is Kirill, whose sole defining character trait is his cigarette smoking, as you can see in every single scene he appears in. Yorgi asks Yelena to keep X company, taking him into a back room to prove a point by kissing X, and ew, Vin, what are you doing with your lips?
Did you enjoy that?
Yeah.
Good, because it will never happen again.
Yep, she's totally and honestly not going to kiss him again. I truly believe that. And by kissing him in the first place, she is in no way stringing him along. They go to Yorgi's castle, and the problem with these villains is really simple. They're terminally uninteresting. They have no real personality whatsoever outside of partying, dancing, and sex. Because that's so fascinating. We're almost an hour into the film and he's hardly done anything evil. For all intents and purposes, he could be any old random tossy you meet in a club. X is shown to his room where he finds a complimentary prostitute slipping and sliding all over his bed, which is meant to be erotic, but it's just objectifying nonsense and... Can I just use that bed to sleep in, please?
The things I'm gonna do for my country.
The only thing you're doing for your country is contracting a shitload of STDs. And was the prostitute the one that lit all those candles for romantic effect? Do you have to pay extra for that? The The following morning, whilst everyone else is asleep, X starts sneaking around the castle, but it seems that Yelena has the same idea, taking photos of Yorgi's vault.
I was on my way to the bathroom. What's your excuse?
I don't need an excuse.
Oh, you're good. But not that good.
Look, I came in here to photograph Yorgi's safe because I thought it might be worth a lot to somebody.
Come on. You're cold, intelligent, and vicious. It's your eyes that give you away. They gave you away when I shot that cop.
You may be cold, intelligent, and vicious, but you're a complete soft in heart, and that's totally not a complete contradiction of everything I just said. X takes her to lunch, where he lets slip his real identity.
I'm a secret agent. You sure you don't want to embarrass me?
Oh, come on.
What's so funny about that?
Yeah, that's pretty much the correct reaction to anyone who looks like Vin Diesel telling you they're a secret agent. Because that's what this whole thing is, laughable. She starts treating him more seriously when she gets a call from Kirill, as Yorgi has been informed of X's identity and tells her that he's ready to assassinate X out the front entrance. She wants immunity and safe passage to the US and spills the beans to X, telling him that Anarchy 99's real activities go on under the cover of daylight. They try to figure out a way of getting X out without compromising her as well, and with the aid of a dinner tray, he stages his exit using the tray to blind Kirill. I know they're trying to cram in as many extreme sports stunts as they can, but knowing Vin Diesel can look cool grinding a dinner tray, I'm also pretty sure the grip on that would be so bad that he'd end up riding the rest of the stairrail using his nuts. So X escapes, but no sooner than he gets to his GTO when he's captured again and taken by NSA agents to an opera house. Inside, Gibbons explains that since his cover is blown, the mission's over and he can fly back whilst the sweeper team does the rest and kills everyone. Naturally, X wants to save the hot chick and is pissed, whilst Gibbons gives a knowing smirk. So let me get this straight. Gibbons went on a 12-hour flight to Prague to tell X that his cover was blown, even though it happened this very morning, whilst also setting up this opera performance for himself purely for dramatic effect. Dude, X has a video phone! I think all this effort was entirely unnecessary. Defying his orders, X sneaks into the castle by climbing a cliff, and despite being all, well, they're not all that bad, the first thing he does is throw a sentry off said cliff to his death, despite having his tranquilizer gun. Putting bandage explosives on their vehicles, he sees Yorgi letting Yelena into the secret research area of the castle and follows them using his binoculars to see through the walls. This is where Yorgi has had scientists weaponize a chemical agent called Silent Night, ooh, Deadly Night, and create a solar-powered submarine called Ahab. The scientists celebrate the completion of the rockets by handing Yorgi the detonator. A terrible idea when dealing with a cliche bad guy, because he pulls the old trick of killing his flunkies to show how evil he is. It's worth noting that immediately before this, X overheard one of the scientists saying that he wasn't quite done yet, but he's amongst the others getting killed. So basically Yorgi's killing all the scientists even though they haven't actually finished yet. Talk about cutting your nose off to spite your face, but don't worry, this blatant plot hole will be completely ignored. The weapon is apparently binary, probably lifted from Die Hard with a Vengeance, and to really drive home that Anarchy 99 are really bad people, they end up going into comic levels of psychopathy.
Looks like little white mouse. Bye-bye, little mouse.
Bye-bye, villain credibility! And this weapon is so deadly that it can be contained within stone walls and be sucked out by extractor fans that can convert it into clean air. Which is good, because being stuck inside plexiglass would really suck. An angry X attacks some guards, causing Yorgie's men to give chase. X takes one of the motorcycles as he makes his escape, and Sex Crazy gives chase after him. Time for another outrageous motorcycle stunt! So not only can X punch people whilst jumping on his motorbike, but he can also fire a gun in midair whilst not losing his one-handed grip on the saddle? I guess that's because he's far too damn extreme! X takes out Sex Crazy by detonating all the bombs on the vehicles. His death will be lamented by his bitches. He rides back to the safe house, encountering Sova, discovering that when you treat your allies like shit, they may turn on you, as is the case here, surprise, surprise.
So what are you gonna do, shoot me?
Where do you want it? In the head, to be quick? Or in the chest for an open casket?
What the hell are you doing?
I heard you talking. I could tell where you were in the room.
You could tell where he was standing from the other side of the door? Do you have super hearing or something? You're very lucky you didn't pump his back full of lead, you silly cow! Yelena reveals that she was an undercover FSB agent, well duh, and has been so for 2 years, thanks largely to the fact she was abandoned after 6 months and left to survive on her own. In which case, who the hell was she taking pictures of the vault for earlier? Does she want to break her own cover? They inform Gibbons of the new developments, and he's once again back in the US. He must have some killer jet lag, considering he must have only just got back from the 12-hour return home.
There was never a sweeper team, was there?
If I told you not to jump off the Empire State Building.
Yeah, you're right, I'd definitely do it.
See? I inspired you. I'm an authority figure. That's what I'm supposed to do.
So basically, X doesn't actually have any rough edges, because even his anti-authority streak can be used and manipulated against him to make sure he does the right thing thanks to reverse psychology from his puppet masters. In short, he's basically a stupid tool of a Boy Scout and a complete and utter poser. Gibbons orders X to come home, but he's not going to be doing that.
I've risked my life for a lot of stupid reasons. This is the first one that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I may hate authority, but killing people with a deadly nerve agent? That's so not cool, man.
Alexander, remember what I told you after you kissed me?
Never again?
I lied.
Wow, I totally did not see that one coming. I really thought she was going to live up to that promise. So while she goes back undercover, X starts organising his attack, including asking Shavers to pimp his GTO with a bloody armory. The first step is knocking out the communications tower on the mountain behind the castle, so he jumps out of a plane and parachutes down on his snowboard because it's time for some more bodacious stunts. Did people still use that in 2002? Anyway, the tower soon spots him and hop on their snowmobiles, but he has something that will stop them in their tracks. He throws some grenades over his shoulder, causing an avalanche which he races down in front of. And for a film with some excellent practical stunts, this stupendously fake and idiotic sequence is easily the weakest set piece in the film and actually serves as a nice sister to that dumb tsunami surfing in Die Another Day, complete with fakey CGI. But don't worry, X will be saved by grabbing hold of an antenna, which conveniently stops the avalanche as he does so. The very same antenna he was knocking out in the first place. Why didn't he just chuck the grenades out the plane? Why did he have to be on the ground to do this? Oh, that's right, he's a moron who lives for extreme sports, even though he placed his life under completely unnecessary risk. Personally, I was hoping for the avalanche to crush the dumb bastard. X gets captured, because no one could have possibly missed that, and taken to Yorgi, where Yelena has also been captured. Good thing you told her to go back to him, X.
I knew about you all along, and it was my pleasure to twist you and use you how I saw fit.
So you've known all this time time she was a spy but just decided to keep her around, even though you've killed everyone else who was in your way without hesitation, and showed her the secret weapons facility as well. Anarchy 99 has more leaks than a ship full of holes. Yorgi has his big villain monologue, revealing his plan to gas the major cities so that the countries will turn on each other, creating real anarchy. This is interrupted by the police and armed forces bursting in, and even though he took out the communications tower, they're still coming under heavy fire, so yeah, kind of pointless really. Kirill and Yorgi rush downstairs with the hard drive to launch Ahab.
You got a bazooka. Dude, stop thinking Prague police and start thinking PlayStation. Blow shit up.
I wonder if similar advice was given to the writer. Stop thinking logically, start writing like a brain-dribbling moron. Informed it's a heat seeker, although it looks like a heavily modified camcorder to me, X has an idea.
The son of a bitch is smoking. I told him that cigarette would kill him one day.
Remember kids, winners don't do drugs. And if you don't smoke, you significantly reduce your chances of a heat-seeking missile and probably lodging itself up your ass. Ahab launches as Yorgi tries to get away on a speedboat, and X shoots him as he gets away, causing him to crash and explode in an incredibly lame death for our main villain. Also, love how the door would have crushed X several times over before they actually get around to pulling him out from underneath it. They need to chase Ahab, but luckily Shavers shows up with the GTO with all the enhancements X requested in only a few hours, because in movies geek is synonymous with wizard. Meanwhile, Gibbons has flown into Prague. Again! I sure hope he keeps hold of those frequent flyer miles. So in the space of 2 or 3 days, Gibbons spent most of that flying back and forth to Prague. Why the hell is he even doing this when there is a deadly chemical weapon about to destroy the city, and him and his NSA officials? Actually, why is he here? How can he possibly know that Ahab has even launched? Get out of this movie, Samuel L. Jackson! Your presence is causing plot holes! X needs to get onto Ahab and submerge it in deep water to destroy the Silent Knight on board. And with all that weaponry on the car, what's the most they ever use it for? To blow up a potato cart blocking the road. Well, poo. They also start getting really sloppy. Not only does the boom mic pop in, but they swerve onto the bridge on the right, even though they were clearly approaching it on the left. Grabbing a harpoon gun and using the ejectable roof and a parachute fitted in the seat, he fires a line onto Ahab and sends himself flying into the air, opening up a parachute of an American flag. Oh, I get it, an FU to Bond's famous British parachute. So us Brits get a suave, sophisticated lady killer of a secret agent, whilst America is represented by a boorish numbskull who can't even think for himself. If I was American, I'd be insulted. Oh well. USA! 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 X slides down onto Ahab and the missiles start getting ready to launch, which he spent an inordinate amount of time gawping at like a moron before turning one upside down and then pulling out the hard drive, which he could have done much earlier than he actually does. This causes the sub to dive and it blows up under the water, which is apparently enough to break up the Silent Knight. I think this movie and I have different definitions of the term deep water. See, when I hear that, I think of the ocean, not a river. So it looks like X is dead, yada yada yada. Oh, what a shame, he isn't. As a reward for completing the mission, he and Yelena get to go to Bora Bora in a typical Bond-style epilogue, including more sloppy kissing. Gibbons calls on video phone with another mission, but X instead decides to go for a bit of a swim and shag. And I love how the view screen on the call goes to a third-person perspective, which makes it blatantly clear that Gibbons' shots were meant to be cutaways. Who the hell is holding the camera? Oh, and the last 10 minutes are just pure credits. In one final bit of hilarity, X does its own attempt at trying to ape Bond's legendary title sequences, which ends up showing how empty and vacuous the movie is. A beating heart which insides a car engine, which ends up zooming out to reveal the GTO because he's running on adrenaline. Yeah, hardcore! This sums up X perfectly, I think. An overcooked bunch of macho bullshit. Let's be very fair here. If there is a positive to the film, it's that the stunt work and set pieces, crappy Avalanche bit excluded, are excellent, and the stunt team are to be commended for doing many of these dangerous stunts practically. Alas, as much as X wants to be non-stop action, it doesn't really work as a stunt show. Whenever it has to deal with things like plot, the movie becomes incredibly boring and dumb, as opposed to being dumb and fun, including an unforgivably tedious midsection, which feels like it's cruising in neutral. It is occasionally self-aware, but it also wants to be taken seriously too, which given how silly everything is, just doesn't work. Vin Diesel has been good in other films, but his charisma is spread far too thin here, thanks largely to the fact that he's just filling time between set pieces and just ends up bland. As for Samuel L. Jackson, the concept of his character is cool, but he's pretty clearly cashing a very easy check for just doing his shtick. It wants to be rough and gritty, but those details are so phony that it might as well just be a stick-on tattoo. The sequel may well have been worse, but time hasn't been kind to X. And let's face it, when it comes to this sort of thing, nobody does it better than Bond. I'm Matthew Buck, beating down bad movies everywhere.
Adrenaline.